Hi, class. Happy Monday or Tuesday or whenever you're watching this. So, what we're going to start off with this week is talking about information literacy. You had 3 articles that you were supposed to read before watching these videos about the information literacy standards, frameworks, and pillars. And so, the reason we talk about information literacy so much is it's really the foundation of the purpose of this class and why you're taking it. So, information literacy in its most simple definition, is been called the ability to learn. It's the ability to know you need info, to go find the info, and to learn the information that you're looking for. And so you can see, though, information literacy doesn't really just tie to libraries and reading and scholarly work. I kind of hope you picked up on that as you looked over those framework standards and pillars documents of information literacy can tie in all of the things you see here in this graphic of you definitely have library instruction and kind of traditional literacy of the ability to read and take information that way, but a lot of information literacy can also include things like visual, cultural, media literacy. Computer literacy in today's age is definitely really important for being able to find and use this information and to learn with information and to gain knowledge that way. And so information literacy comprises a lot of different parts. And so a better definition for it comes from ALA, which is the American Library Association. They defined information literacy as a set of abilities requiring individuals to recognize when information is needed and to then have the ability to locate, evaluate, and use effectively the needed information. So the first part of this definition is the easy part of being able to recognize when you need info. That's pretty much a given of you need to know something, you're going to go try and find it. It's the second half of this, the ability to locate it, to evaluate it for credibility and appropriateness so you know which information to use, and then to correctly use it. That's where what we're really going to dig into in this class is how do you find information? How do you find correct and credible and accurate information? How do you know if it's accurate? How do you know if it's appropriate to use? Good example of the debate between what's accurate versus appropriate is Wikipedia. That Wikipedia, on the whole, we're going to talk about Wikipedia in this class quite a bit. On the whole, Wikipedia is giving you correct info, but your professors don't want you to use that because it has credibility issues. More in depth is this very simplified versions of info is kind of my understanding of it. So we're going to definitely talk about Wikipedia in this class, but that's kind of looking at this evaluate section of all information is not appropriate to be used in all situations. Sometimes we want the expert info. And so that's kind of that evaluate section, and then use effectively and correctly the needed info. And so part of information literacy is not just the ability to find the info, but to then take it and put it into your research paper or project, or use the information to do whatever task it is you're needing to do, and also properly cite that info. So we're going to talk a lot about citations this semester. So how do you correctly give back credit? And so this is really important for academics, that we have very formal ways we want you to do this with citations and giving proper credit, and how formal ways you're going to convey the info through like research papers and research projects. But information literacy can really tie into every aspect of your life. Think about what you've seen in the news for the past 5 years. This idea of fake news. So fake news really kind of came about as a term around the 2016 election. It's something that's been talked about massively since then. And since we're coming up into election this November, a lot of news accuracy is being talked about. Fake news isn't new. Fake news was not created in 2018 or 2016. Sorry. Fake news has been around for as long as there have been news sources. What has changed, though, with the internet and social media is the ability to create fake news and to get it out to thousands and millions of people with very little effort. You put something up on social media and it goes viral and thousands of people see this, and they aren't really getting possibly correct information. They aren't getting the whole picture. So it's correct info that's been taken out of context, so you're not really understanding what it's saying. So you've had this propaganda and political opponents spreading lies about each other for as long as politics has been around. But I really think social media and the internet has allowed that to spread so much more quickly. So it's really important for you as adults now who are going to engage in social media and engage in the world around you. So at some point you're going to come in touch with politics and things like that, to be able to look at what's accurate, where's this information coming from, what are credible sources who are giving you correct info, what is bias in information. That's a big thing with politics and news. We're going to talk about how to look at bias in the news and bias in information with scholarly research and things like that. So information literacy goes beyond your classes. It really kind of does touch just about every aspect of your life. But one thing you really need to understand is that computer literacy, the ability to use computers and technology and the internet, and your ability to do this for your generation almost effortlessly because you've had it your entire life, does not equal information literacy. You can definitely see that with social media and the information floating around, that if you do just a tiny bit of digging into it, you can see it's not accurate. And if you really kind of logically looked at it, you might start seeing red flags with some of the info going about it. And so this is something lots of people don't understand, that computer literacy, the ability to use technology as a computer, does not equal information literacy. Computer literacy is a part of it. It's a really important part of it nowadays, but it's not the same thing. We struggle with this with some of your professors. Talking to some of my colleagues as a faculty member, of looking at, just because they can use the internet, just because they can pick up this computer you might struggle to use, doesn't mean they know what they're doing. And so that's doesn't mean they know how to find correct information for the class you're looking for if they've never been taught how to do this kind of scholarly research you're wanting them to do. And so that's really what we're going to focus on in this class, is getting into that information literacy, getting beyond just the ability to use the computer. And so that is why we have these standards, frameworks, and pillars. That information literacy, if I go back up to this kind of graphic and this one above it, it has so many different components. It changes with kind of the era you're in and how technology and access to information and how information is being created and dispersed to people has changed and evolved. In some ways, it's not a hard and fast black and white kind of rule. What might be appropriate one place won't be appropriate another. And so there's a lot of fluidity and flexibility to information literacy. And so that is why we have these pillars and frameworks and standards of people have tried to break down as to what is information literacy and how do you become information literate. And so we're going to talk about those in the following videos.